Hi students, and welcome to today's live IELTS class. My name is Adrian and I'm streaming to you live from beautiful Victoria here on the west coast of Canada in the capital city of the province of British Columbia. I hope everybody is doing fantastic today. I hope you're having a good week, staying strong, staying healthy. Mantasha, we're going to be looking at a few different kinds of reading questions in today's video. We are looking at the reading section, and we're going to be talking about some Band 9 literacy and skills. These materials, this passage, is coming from our website, aehelp.com, for academic IELTS success. Check us out there for the general version of the exam. Do check us out at gieltshelp.com. That's generalieltshelp.com, where we have lots of general IELTS reading passages for you. Reading section 1 and section 2 in the general IELTS is a little bit different from the academic, but section 3 is virtually the same kind of passage and questions. So you can check those out. Welcome members, Rashika, Paulo. Good to have our moderator, Carolina. Nice to have many students in the class. While we wait for a few more of your fellow students, our academic IELTS website looks like this with the blue background. You can click this big red button to join the premium package. Once you click that button, you get access to all of our materials. Doesn't cost very much. It's a one-time payment, lifetime access. We are an official British Council test registration center and certified agents, so you're in great hands with us. We are world leaders when it comes to IELTS preparation. gieltshelp.com, green background, this big red button here, click that to join the premium package. This Sunday at this time, HD video release, My IELTS Band 9 Journey Episode 2. I took the official IELTS test just like any other candidate, and I am sharing that story with you through a 5-part series that is going on every Sunday. Part 1 premiered last Sunday. Check that out. That was IELTS registration. This is IELTS preparation, and I give you tips at all of these stages of the exam process, so make sure to check that out on Sunday. Okay, and that will be at this time premiering on both of our YouTube channels. You can follow us on Instagram, IELTS_AEHelp and GIELTShelp. And you can send me an email, adrian@aehelp.com, if you have any questions. All right. So students, let's get into today's reading. These are new exams that we're developing and we're producing and releasing later on this year. This reading passage is, let me get it a little bit bigger so we maximize our screen space here. I think we can fit a bit more. Okay, so here we go. The RLC is gone. Reasons and impacts. That's the topic of, or title of today's reading passage. Okay, so when you get to the reading passage in your IELTS exam, read the title. The title is a summary of the entire passage. It helps you to think about the passage. It helps you get a clear idea of what you will be reading about. It is very, very important. Don't just skip it. Don't miss it. Okay? So you want to visualize it and you want to think critically about it. So here, we want to predict a little bit what the passage is going to be about. In order to predict the passage, predict the contents of the passage by thinking critically. Okay, so very quickly in your head, you should be flashing these questions. At home, when you're practicing this, write this down on your computer, on paper, okay? So, where or what is the Aral Sea. Anybody have an idea of what the Aral Sea is? If you don't, then you just say, I don't know. Okay? But if you do, then you might say, okay, that's a body of water in this location. So anybody know what is the Aral Sea? Okay. Loyed says, I have no idea. Okay. So maybe your answer might be, I don't know. And that's okay. All right. It's okay to say, I don't know. There's nothing wrong about that. Jasur says it's located in Uzbekistan. Okay. Angelo says it's in some specific country. Toya says a sea in the region named Aral, the Aral region. Yeah, okay. All right. So it's a sea located in the Euro-Asian continent. Okay, sure. All right. So the next question that you want to ask, and you want to have some good questions, okay? So to predict the passage or the contents of the passage, you want to ask some good questions. What do you think is a good question to ask yourself, to think about when you're predicting or guessing the contents of this passage, inferring the contents of this passage? The Aral Sea is gone, reasons and impacts. So what would be a good question to ask yourself here? Aziz says the Aral Sea is in Uzbekistan. Yeah, in a large part it is. Eugen, welcome aboard. Hello to you as well, Panda and Kitty. All right. So, Eagle Eye says it's not a sea, it's an island. All right. We'll talk about that in a moment, or we'll read about it, certainly. So what would be a good question to ask? Okay. I know I have a good question. This would be my question. Why is it gone? Okay. Yeah, very good. The Prazal says the causes for the vanishing of the Aral Sea. So if you had to guess, when we talk about a lake is gone or a river is gone or a sea is gone, we're basically saying that it's dried up. Okay? It's gone because it's dried up. It's no longer there. And why has it dried up? Okay? So why has it dried up? Okay? What's the reason for that? What do you think? Yeah, Learn English says, why has the Aral Sea gone? Learn English, separate your questions into two parts, so don't combine them, the effects, okay? Patel says maybe global warming, okay? Very good. Prazal, maybe pollution. Likely human activity. Maybe geological or geographical activity. Okay, so something natural that's happening to the earth. Ken says maybe something to do with deforestation, increase in population. Okay. And the next question is, what are the effects of not having the Aral Sea? So, yeah, so there could be lots. We're going to find out, but again, you're predicting, you're thinking about these points, right? So now we want to think about what are the effects of this? So this sea is gone. How does that affect existence, life? Okay. All right. So how does that affect life? Okay, again, you want to think about these and think about these quickly. And when you're practicing this kind of predicting and inferring the passage, you want to do this again with pen and paper at home, and you want to do it in English, all in English. So don't write down the questions and answers in your own language, okay? All right, so Toya says it has a negative impact on aquatic animals. Negative impact on marine life, yeah. Sure. Jessica says maybe impact on weather. Yeah, I bet. I'm sure it does when such a large body disappears. Sunket says loss of resources. And when you think about that, think more specifically like loss of drinking water, loss of the fishing industry. Okay. Prazal says effect on ecosystem. Okay. All right, good. Good. Yeah, so that's what you're doing. That's what you're predicting. And this whole time, of course, you should be visualizing. Especially when reading topics are from the physical world, like lakes, mountains, and buildings, you must use your visual thinking to maximize your scores. Okay, and this is very visual because it's about the Aral Sea, so it's clearly about a sea, and you want to really visualize what this sea might have looked like, what's happened to it, what it might look like today. Okay, so you're visualizing all of that. And Binod is using a good word here, industrialization. Yeah. Okay, so before we read the passage, let's take a look at the questions. That's the next step, okay? In your first step, you look at the title, you read it, you think about it, you visualize it. In your second step, you look at the questions, okay, to try to get some more information. Now, when you look at the questions, only look at questions that have information which is in the passage. Do not look at questions that have extra and false information, okay? So only look at questions that contain information which is in the passage, okay? Do not look at questions that have extra and false information. For example, true, false, not given, okay? Or multiple choice question answers, okay? So don't look at those ones, all right? Okay, so here we go. This is our first one here. It's choose one word only from the passage, one single word. Always pay attention to instructions. When you're doing this, write your answers in boxes 14 to 19 on your answer sheet. Okay, everyone, this is a reading class, so make sure that you're reading with me. Read and repeat. Okay. All right, so here we go. We have column 1. This is the subject, and then we have column 2, which are the comments. Okay. So the subject is the Aral Sea. Okay, that's what we're talking about. And then here are the comments. Though it is called a sea, and all of this information will be somewhere in the passage. Okay, so though it is called a sea, the Aral Sea is actually one of the largest something in the world. The body of water was formed when geologic forces affected the flow of two something, the Amu Darya and the Shur Darya. Okay, so I can probably guess what these are, but I'm going to leave them for now. The subject is cotton. Okay, cotton is the plant that's used to make cotton fiber, which is used to make cotton clothing. Cotton comes from the cotton plant, which can be found in many warmer regions of the world. The oldest evidence of cotton production has been found in something. Okay, I don't know where cotton was first found, so I'll have to read that. Today, the natural resource cotton production requires more than anything else is this. This has resulted in the depletion of the Aral Sea. Okay. The topic, modern day Uzbekistan. So it's probably a good guess that the Aral Sea is in Uzbekistan. Cotton production is ongoing in Uzbekistan and its economy still relies on it. Indeed, cotton production is part of the something of Uzbekistan. So again, you don't have to read these slowly and understand every little word in detail. Just go through them nice and fast so you get an idea of the passage. Negative effects. Cotton production has many negative effects on communities, on the environment, and on the something of individuals. Okay, great. So now we have our next set of questions. Which paragraph contains the following information? This is matching information to the paragraph. Which strategy is very ineffective for this type of question? So when you have to match the information to the right paragraph, there's a strategy that really doesn't work and it's very ineffective, and students do this and it's really bad because usually they run out of time and they get a really low score. What's the strategy that is used in the reading which would be a really bad idea for this type of question? It's not scamming, Paulo. The word you're looking for is scanning, right? Patel says skimming and scanning. Yeah, skim reading. Absolutely. Skimming and scanning is a really poor strategy. It's a very bad strategy for this type of question. Why? Okay, why is that a really bad idea to try to skim or scan? No worries, Paulo. Typos happen all the time. They happen to me as well. Okay, so why is that a really bad strategy? And trying to find keywords is also a bad strategy, Nisa. Absolutely. Okay. The reason why skimming, scanning is a really bad strategy for this, because maybe question 20, the degree of shrinkage of the Aral Sea in the past, could be at the very end of the passage, and it might be paraphrased. It's not even using the same word, okay? So the amount of decrease observed in former history of the Aral Sea. Okay, so maybe in the passage, it's not going to write the degree of shrinkage of the Aral Sea, but it's going to say the amount of decrease observed in the former history of the Aral Sea, or it might say something like the Aral Sea has decreased by 70% in volume. Okay, so the passage might actually write something like this or like this, so it's not writing the exact same word. So if you're looking for keywords, there's a good chance you're not going to find it. And if you're trying to search for this information, it's likely that you're going to scan or skim the entire passage. Okay, so that's why skimming and scanning doesn't work. Okay, so you have to read. Okay, this type of question really encourages you to read the passage. And in order to get those high band scores, the band score is 7, 8, 9, you do have to read the passage. Okay, so it's very important. All right. So here we go. The human suffering from cotton production. Again, the difficulties or the strife for humanity or for people for making cotton or growing cotton. The creation of the Aral Sea, the origin of the Aral Sea, the development of cotton production in the USSR, the establishment of growing cotton in the Soviet Union. Okay, the tool that accelerated the need for cotton, the equipment that increased the demand for cotton. So I'm giving you two ways to think about each of these. And when you're at home, that's what you want to do with these matching paragraph questions. Okay, so for practice, for matching information to paragraph questions, you must paraphrase the statements before you read the passage in order to give you a better understanding and build your English. Okay, I hope that's clear for everybody. All right, so paraphrase those, and not just these questions, but it's good practice to paraphrase other questions in the listening and in the reading, because paraphrasing is the main tool that's used by the exam creators to make the test. Okay, so the way that they increase the difficulty of questions is by increasing the complexity of the paraphrasing. Is everybody clear on that? So this information that I just gave you is very, very important. Okay, so the IELTS exam makers, and it's not just the IELTS exam makers, it's other exam makers as well, but the IELTS exam makers, which is of course done by Cambridge. So at Cambridge, increase the difficulty, and it's not the only way, but it's the main way, of questions by increasing the complexity of the paraphrasing between the questions and the passage, or in the case of listening section, the audio. Okay, so everybody clear on that? Yeah, and that's why in order to overcome that, to understand that, what you want to do is practice paraphrasing at home. Okay, all right, and to help you with that, use a thesaurus. Okay, all right. So let's get into this a little bit more. We have some yes, no, not given questions. These are very, very similar to true, false, not given questions. You should practice paraphrasing these at home as well. Yes, no, not given questions we avoid before reading the passage because we don't know if they're given, not given. So we don't read these ones. All right, so now we go back and we read the passage and we visualize. So let's do this together. We're going to read together and then we'll answer the questions. Make sure to visualize at each point in the reading and ask yourself what the paragraph is about. So here we go, everyone. We're going to read this nice and fluently from start to finish. Don't just listen because it's not a listening exercise. So read with me. Repeat my reading. Or another way I can say this is read aloud, okay? So read aloud so you can hear your voice. And again, visualize, okay? So see the information. All right, here we go. Let's do this. Let me clear the frog out of my throat first. All right. So a century ago, the Aral Sea was the fourth largest lake on Earth, with water sourced from two rivers, the Amu Darya River and the Shur Darya River. The lake was a bountiful fishing source for lakeside communities throughout history. In the 20th century, this changed dramatically. With the rise of the Soviet Union and the demand for cotton, which grew easily in the surrounding area, the Aral Sea, which is technically a lake, began to shrink. Today, there is almost no water left. It truly is one of the planet's worst environmental disasters. The Aral Sea is located between Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan, two former Soviet republics. It was formed over 5 million years ago when geologic forces prevented the two rivers' water from reaching their final destination. These forces created a lake with an area of 68,000 square kilometers, a body of water that was full of fish for the neighboring communities. 200,000 generations relied on this fish to sustain themselves and trade with nearby groups. It wasn't until the mid-20th century that the situation changed, and when it began to change, it would not be long until all the water was gone and the local economies were ruined. The cotton fabric, which makes up much of modern clothing, comes from the cotton plant, which is native to tropical and subtropical regions worldwide, from the Americas to Africa and India and Australia. It has been processed by humans since antiquity. There is evidence of cotton production dating back 8,000 years in Peru. However, the invention of the cotton gin by Eli Whitney in 1794 transformed both the production of cotton and its environmental impact. Cotton production in the 20th century was fine-tuned. That is, it had been improved over time to optimize its output. What was not taken into account, however, was its environmental impact. In the 1940s, the USSR experienced a massive drought. There was no water for crops, and thus many people starved to death. Joseph Stalin, the dictator of the country, directed a great plan for the transformation of nature, the goal of which was to improve the agricultural output of the nation. One part of this plan involved transforming the lands of the Uzbek SSR, modern Uzbekistan, into cotton crops. This was not a bad idea at first thought. The Uzbek lakeside lands were suitable for the cultivation of the crop. The Soviets provided water for the crops by exploiting the natural water flow in the area, the Amu Darya and the Sir Darya rivers. This system was stable for about 20 years until the Soviet government decided to expand the irrigation system to increase production in the 1960s. This required more water. Water has to come from somewhere, and in this case, the water came from the two rivers. Because the water from the two rivers was also the source of the Aral Sea, it began to shrink. Starting in the 1960s, the Aral Sea shrank by 50 to 100 centimeters per year. By 1987, the lake had dried so much that it had been divided into two, the large Aral in the south and the small Aral in the north. This was an environmental disaster. The separation of the lake changed the salt levels in each lake, which resulted in wildlife deaths as well as increased evaporation levels, water loss. By 2002, the southern lake had completely evaporated, and by 2014, all the water was gone. What was left was called Aralkum, a desert. This desert is not just an interesting artifact of the human impact on Earth. Instead, the desert is a disease-riddled black hole whose dust blows through the region regularly, spreading illness and dangerous chemicals. For example, the USSR once operated a biological weapons facility in the lake, and now the chemical byproducts of the testing are open to the air and affect neighboring communities. As there is no water, there's also no fish. And this is catastrophic for the once lakeside communities. Not only have they lost a source of food, they have also lost a key industry. Today, the people of the region suffer from a poor economy, high levels of poverty, toxic drinking water, and a scarcity of resources. Cotton still grows in Uzbekistan. Indeed, the cotton harvest holds a special place in Uzbek culture, with the country coming together each year to take hold of the valuable crop and bring it to market. In a way, it is as if the Soviet ways still hold sway. The Uzbek economy relies on cotton production with little regard for its environmental, social, and health impacts. In this sense, the destruction of the Aral Sea is a small-scale example of the environmental damage and exploitation we have brought upon the planet as a whole. It is too late for the Aral Sea, but is it too late for Earth? All right, a little bit of a depressing read, but an important read. Okay, now here again, I hope that you were visualizing. So, if you were visualizing and keeping a what's called mental log of the information, you should have noted the following structure. Okay, I'm going to use Roman numerals here so that we kind of get the right idea here. So number one, or firstly, you should have realized that it introduced the Aral Sea. Okay, after it kind of introduced the concept of the Aral Sea, what did it do next? So what did this passage introduce next? Okay, we're going to get to answering the questions, but when you read a passage like this, at minimum, you should have this mental log and visual imagery of the information so that if you need to go back and look for this information, then you can do it quickly and efficiently, okay? So Dr. Disconnect, mental log means like A, B, C, D, E. This is the structure of this passage. This is the information, okay? Paulo, you're jumping ahead. It wasn't quite that, okay? So at first, it introduced the Aral Sea. Yes, it introduced its formation and its location, but the terrible change came much later. Okay, Nisa, mental log. So mental log means, okay, it means an organized structure of the information in your mind. Okay, so the mental log is an organized structure of the information in your mind, in the reader's mind. So first, it was the introduction of the Aral Sea. What was the next kind of information that the author wrote about? Okay, Rashika says the benefits of the Aral Sea. Yeah, there was some of that as well. Yeah, Jasur says the beginning of cotton production, exactly. So Okay, yeah. So first it was the introduction of the RLC, its origins, what it was used, its history, right? Then it was the beginnings of cotton production. What was the next? Very good, Deepika. Yeah, the start of cotton production. What was the third piece of information that was given by the author? Okay. All right. Very quickly. Okay, this should be automatic. So when you're finished reading and you're getting to the questions, you should have this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It doesn't have to be per paragraph. Okay. Munish, one lake, two rivers. That was a part of the introduction. Okay. Paulo says the cotton importance in history. That was the second kind of point. Yeah. What was the third point? Montasha, yes, you must read the passage before answering the questions if you want to get a high band score. Okay. I still don't see the correct answer. The correct answer should be okay. So the production of cotton in the USSR. Okay, so it was introduction of the RLC's origin, the beginning of cotton production, the production of cotton in the USSR, and specifically around the RLC. Okay, and what was the fourth? Okay, Jyotik Naik, that was the fourth, the impact of cotton production on the environment. And what was the last point? There was one more. Okay. What was the next one? So the impact of the cotton production on the environment, on people, was the death of the RLC, absolutely. And there was one more here. So those are all the impacts. So no fishing, pollution, right, that is in the area now. Okay, and what was the fifth point that was described by the author here? Yeah, Sanket, Thakur, very good. So it finishes with the current situation of cotton production. So it's saying, well, it's still being produced. We're still using a lot of cotton, and RLC is one of the impacts, but let's see if it's going to continue into the future, right? So very good. So some of you got it. Okay, so this is your mental log, all right? When you read a passage like this, you should have this in your head. Okay, so the author first introduces the origins of the RLC. Then the author introduces the beginnings of cotton production for humans. Then the author introduces the production of cotton in the USSR, specifically around the RLC. After that, the author explains the negative impact of cotton production on the environment and people, specifically around the RLC. And finally, the author explains the current situation of cotton production and warns of the possible damages. All right, so ideally, when you read a passage like this, you should have this much information. If you're not able to produce this mental log of the reading passage, you have to improve your reading, your fluency, and your comprehension. If you need to get a band 7 in your IELTS exam, you must be able to produce this kind of a mental log in order to finish on time and give correct answers. Is that clear, everyone? This is not a maybe, this is a must. Otherwise, you're just purely relying on luck. And well, I don't know about you, but I don't plan my life around luck. So keep this in mind. If you plan or need to get a band 7 or more, you must be able to produce a mental log of the passage like the example above. If you are not able to do this, you must work on improving your reading comprehension and fluency. All right? There's no ways around that. Okay, so there's no shortcuts, there's no tips, there's no tricks, there's no skimming and scanning that will work to compensate for that. Okay? All right? Bachrat says, gotcha. All right, and watch what you can do. When you have this mental log, it becomes very effective. So here are the questions. Let's give the answers. Subject, Errol C. Obviously, that's in the beginning and then later on. Though it is called a sea, the Aral Sea is actually one of the largest in the world. What's the missing word there for number 14? Okay. Okay. All right, Sanket says lake. Patel says lake. Paula Reese has the first correct answer. Paula Reese says lakes. Yes, and it's a plural. The S is important. If you write lake, it's wrong. Okay? Because it's one of the many, one of the largest lakes in the world. So it's one of many, right? So it's a plural. The body of water was formed when geologic forces affected the flow of two rivers. Okay, again, 2S rivers. It's very fast. I'm sure many of you would get that correct, so I'm not going to stop for that one. Topic, cotton. Cotton comes into the passage after the introduction. I know that it appears again after that and in the end. So cotton comes from the cotton plant, which can be found in many warmer regions of the world. The oldest evidence of cotton production has been found in. Okay, so even if I forgot this one, because of my mental log, I know that it's the second part of this passage coming after the first. So I'm looking for paragraph B or C. Okay. And I can see that paragraph B is still talking about the Aral Sea. So that's still in the introduction. So then I know, okay, well, I know the history of cotton came after that because of my mental log. So then it must be paragraph C. And then it goes, okay, the cotton fabric. So now I'm skimming here. What was that? And I'm skimming for a name or a name of a country. So subtropical regions from the Americas to Africa to India, Australia. Okay, that's looking good. It has been processed by humans since antiquity. There is evidence of cotton production dating back 8,000 years in Peru. Aha, there it is. Boom. So Peru is going to be the correct answer. So if I forgot, because of my mental log, now I can effectively use skimming, scanning to find the right answer. Okay? So here we go. Oh, how was that? Like that, right? Okay. Cotton production has been found in Peru. Okay, and you can write all capital letters. If you write all capital letters, just write all the answers as capital letters. So lakes and rivers also. All right, today the natural resource cotton production requires more than anything else is. So cotton needs this a lot. Cotton is a plant. I shouldn't have to search the text for this. 17. Hopefully you all get this correct. Water. Okay, and I see that Rain Thai Paulo Reese, Riku Roy, all got the idea water, which is good. Okay, so we're moving along nicely. All right. Modern day Uzbekistan, that's right at the end of the passage, right? Cotton production is ongoing in Uzbekistan and its economy still relies on it. Indeed, cotton production is part of the something of Uzbekistan. I remember this. I don't have to search for it. If I would have to search for it, I would be looking in the last couple of paragraphs primarily. Okay. But I don't need to because I remember this one. It was very clear. It was emphasized and it's part of the culture. That's right. Very good. Lots of good answers there. So it's part of the culture of Uzbekistan. Yeah. Okay. The negative effects. All right. Well, that's going to be somewhere in the middle to the end. Okay. Again, because I have that mental log. Cotton production has many negative effects on communities, on the environment, and on the something of individuals. What do you think is the correct answer for number 19? Okay. So, communities, environment, and on the what of individuals? So Patel says health of individuals. Maybe. Okay. I wonder why that's stuck. Just give me 1 second here. YouTube seems to be stuck here, guys. I'm not sure why. Let me just see if I can fix it. Huh, that's strange. Okay. I wouldn't say it's the health of individuals. Yeah, YouTube, I know it's YouTube that's frozen. It's not my equipment because my equipment is all showing the correct things here. So let me just see. Sometimes that happens. YouTube will have a glitch. I would say the lives of individuals. So, okay, let me just, I have to interject with YouTube here. Okay. Let me try to restart this and then see if that works. And then we'll get back to it. Just give me 2 seconds, okay? And hopefully this will re-inject the stream. And then that will work. Okay. Right. Almost there. Okay, there we go. All right. So it should be okay now. Everybody sees the question. And Bakrat, I think the issue was that YouTube dropped the stream. So between the streaming software and the YouTube streaming key, there was an issue. And that's not something that we can predict, but it's something that happens anyway. very rarely. So that's fine. Okay. All right, so now you can see it there. Okay. Hopefully it'll cooperate with us. Okay. So cotton production has many negative effects. I wouldn't put health here. I would put lives of individuals, because it's not just the health. So think clearly. It wasn't just talking about the health. It was also talking about people not being able to fish. So the economy is also impacted. So it's the lives of individuals, okay? Because it's not just health. It's also the economy, all right? So lives is the correct answer there. Okay, so now we have these questions here. The which paragraph contains the correct information. The degree of shrinkage of the Aral Sea in the past. Here, I remember that it was quantitative information and it was the impact of human activity. So I know it's coming from somewhere in the middle. And I remember that it actually gave me this information right at the beginning. So starting in the 1960s, the Aral Sea shrank by 50 to 100 centimeters per year. So here it's very, very clear that the correct answer is paragraph E. Very good. Vicky got that. Paulo got that very, very quickly. Nice. Okay. So E, and this is why you don't want to skim or scan for this, because you'd have to skim all the way to paragraph E, and then it's not using the same words, all right? So this is a great example of why you have to read the passage. Okay, so the degree of shrinkage of the Aral Sea in the past, it's in paragraph E. Okay. The human suffering from cotton production, I know that this is coming again near the end. So it's got to be E or F. Okay. So here it talks about the shrinkage. Okay. And then I read past it. It's not just an interesting artifact. Instead, the desert is a disease-riddled black hole, okay, spreading illness and dangerous chemicals. So right away, I know the answer is F, and a lot of you got that very quickly. Very good. Nice, students. So see, that mental log is super, super helpful, okay? So F. The creation of the Aral Sea. Okay, so how the Aral Sea was created, that's in the beginning. That's going to be either A or B. Okay, I'm going to go back and check. I remember it's about the two rivers. Okay, so I read through these paragraphs here. I skim through them. And then here it says the Aral Sea is located, the two former states. It was formed over 5 million years ago. Okay, the two rivers. There it is. So it's not A, it's B, but it's close. As long as you know where to look, you're good to go. Okay? All right. So, correct answer there. B. The development of cotton production in the USSR. I would probably guess D. Right off the top of my head. That's where I would start checking. So maybe D, okay, because I know that C introduces cotton, and then D and E kind of talk about it. So I would immediately be going for D. Some of you are saying, well, that's really fast, but that's because of that mental log of the information. Cotton production in the 20th century was fine-tuned. It was improved over time. Environmental. In the 1940s, the USSR experienced a massive drought. So that's where, okay. So definitely D looks good. All right, for that one. So D it is. Okay, the tool that accelerated the need for cotton, that was the cotton gin, and the introduction of cotton and the cotton industry, that happened before the USSR, so I would say that was C. Okay, so cotton fabric, which makes much of modern clothing, okay, where it was, okay, Australia, all right, passed down since antiquity. In Peru, however, the invention of the cotton gin by Eli Whitney in 1794 transformed both the production of cotton and its environmental impact. So it's C again. The only way to answer this type of question quickly and accurately is with the method that I just showed you. And I'm going to stop on that note today. If you'd like to finish these yes, no, not given questions, please do that on your own. Okay. And then you can send me an email and I'll let you know what those last two answers were. Okay, I'm not going to rush through them right now. There's a bit of a different strategy for that. If you want to learn more about the yes, no, not given questions and their strategies, there's an HD video on our channel that's titled yes, no, not given, or true, false, not given question strategies on the YouTube channel. So check out that video and that will help you to figure out these last two questions. Okay. All right. So that's it for today, and that's how you do it. Remember this very important tip about the mental log. All right. Tomorrow, I will be back with task 1 writing for everyone at this same time, and members will finish that task 2 writing in the class before. If you'd like to get lots and lots of HD videos, as well as practice exams and interactive course, check out aehelp.com for academic IELTS and gieltshelp.com for general IELTS. There's tons of help for you there. It's a one-time payment for lifetime access. Doesn't cost much, so check it out. Thank you, everyone, for being with me today, for learning. Keep it up. Remember, reading is a good idea. Do it regularly. Do it daily. I'm Adrian. I'm signing out from Victoria for now. See you all tomorrow. Bye.